Aloha aina, and welcome to Voices of Truth, one-on-one with Hawaii's future, brought to you by the Kiwani Foundation. I'm Ehu Kekahu Cardwell, and here we are today in sunny San Diego, California, in our continuing quest to discover what it takes to turn armchair observers into active participants to create a better future for Hawaii. So, if you're curious like we are, come on along with us as we visit today with Dr. Hanalei Vierr. Hanalei, aloha. Welcome to the show. Great to have you on again.
Thanks for having me, Ehu.
Wanted to do a second segment with you today.
Yes, sure.
Because you wanted to talk about something, a whole different subject. And that subject is the future of Hawaii, but more specifically, Hawaiian independence. What is the future form the Hawaiian nation should take, could take, and then I know you've had some very personal and specific experiences here in San Diego in connection with that. And we wanted to hear about that and share it with our viewers today.
Sure.
So first of all, as a Kanaka Maoli, living in California here, instead of in Hawaii, and not connected to the Aina over there, what do you think about the future of Hawaii? What do you see as the future form the Hawaiian nation could take, should take, and what might the future look like?
Well, that's a really simple question to answer. That'll take... Okay, well, gosh, there's so many ways to look at that. When I think about it politically, at the very least, I know what won't work. What probably, well, no, I know will not work.
Let's start with what won't work.
What won't work? What won't work, my belief, is having some kind of so-called government entity represent or attempt to represent the best interests of Kanaka Maoli.
Okay, so let's step back, a step even back further, which is you think Hawaii should be a state in the U.S.?
Oh, absolutely not. I don't agree at all with, I never ever thought that Hawaii becoming a state was a good idea.
Why not?
I just never believed that the United States had the best interests of the Hawaiians in its heart. And so, I gotta say, since I've been a kid, I cannot, and I know some people, they probably won't like this, but Hawaiian flag, I cannot, it's been so difficult for me my whole life to see the British Union Jack as a symbol of Hawaiiana.
Another foreign symbol imposed upon the Hawaiian people from without, yes?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just, so, I guess people have their own reasons to identify with certain symbols, but to have that as a symbol of us, no way, no way. That's just one little piece. And then we go back to the whole illegal overthrow and annexation of the islands that happened, under McKinley from 1893 and 1897, and the whole, the annexation process and how all Kanaka Maoli were so against the annexation process, but it just didn't matter, and how our voices were totally ignored. So essentially, we were overthrown. I mean, we were an independent sovereign nation with treaties and agreements with countries all around the world.
About 16, 17 different countries,
absolutely,
including the United States.
Absolutely, including the United States. And essentially we were told, too bad.
Yeah, it didn't matter. We have a lot of viewers, of course, watching the show in Hawaii, but we have viewers watching the show live on the internet each week. And so we want to point out that when that happened, the overthrow happened, prior to the overthrow happening, 98% of all Native Hawaiians living at the time signed a petition that said we oppose the overthrow. We oppose the illegal annexation of Hawaii by the United States. 98%, overwhelming majority. So it was unambiguous, no question that people back then, and not only people of Hawaiian ancestry, but non-Hawaiians also came forward. Citizens of the nation of Hawaii came forward, as we know, and said, hey, We want to remain an independent country.
Absolutely.
We don't want somebody coming in and occupying our country.
And even at the time, there were, at the end of the 19th century, there were a lot of non-Kanaka Maoli that were living in Hawaii.
Yes.
There were people from all over the world.
Chinese, Japanese, Filipinos.
Yes.
Hispanic.
Portuguese.
Literally from everywhere.
From everywhere.
From Europe.
That's right.
Yeah.
But all of them made up the citizenry of the Hawaiian Kingdom.
Yep.
And so, to me, first of all, I believe that we should have our independence back and the ability to determine our own future, what our own needs are, and to be able to enter into negotiation with other governments.
As a sovereign nation.
As a sovereign nation, absolutely.
Yeah. There's a lot of people in Hawaii right now who say, I agree with you. You guys should have that, or we should have that. And we got a solution for that. It's called federal recognition, the Akaka Bill.
Yes.
What do you think about that path?
Boy, it's such a loaded question, but it's such an obvious, it's such an obvious answer for me. Anybody with Koko, anybody with Hawaiian blood in them has to see the sham that the Akaka Bill is. Yes. Because essentially what it would do if it passes, and I'm praying every day that it won't, it would take away our right to file any grievances about from the past.
Or for the future.
Or for the future. It would also effectively put our fate into the hands of the Department of the United States Interior, which has...
How they've been doing lately?
Oh my gosh, their record with the Native American Indians is so atrocious, and for people to expect that to get any better or different is just, I think, is really foolish. So it's really sad that there are, it's hard for me to, let me put it this way, I am really confused by anybody, especially Kanaka Maoli, that could be in favor of it's not even called a federal recognition bill anymore. Now it's a government reorganization act that really what they're saying is, and this really frosts my okole, the government is saying, okay, you know what? This is what's going to happen, you guys. You're going to get to have a government entity.
We will allow
you to have a government entity, and we will negotiate with that entity. But it's not even a government.
Yes.
It's a body of people that don't have governmental power.
Yes.
So none of it's going to make any difference anyway.
So it's like a puppeteer negotiating with a puppet saying, you can do this and this and this, but you're still attached to my strings.
Absolutely. It's just, it's sad, it's sick. There's no way that it's in the best interest of Kanaka Maoli for the Akaka Bill to pass. There's just no way. And anybody, well, more to the point, when OHA came here to the mainland and they did their dog and pony show, they were here in San Diego.
I was going to ask you about that. So Office of Hawaiian Affairs, OHA, came to the West Coast because OHA, Office of Hawaiian Affairs, is heavily promoting the Akaka Bill, federal recognition. OHA, by the way, those people are state bureaucrats on the payroll with the state of Hawaii, getting paychecks from the state. We want to point that out, of course.
Yes.
That might be why they're so heavily in favor of the Akaka Bill. Maybe. I'm just guessing.
It's hard to imagine what other ways they justify it to them. I've asked Honania Poliona, I've asked as many OHA members as I can how they can agree with this.
Okay. So OHA came to the West Coast to do their tour to promote federal recognition.
Yes.
Came to San Diego, and they held some meetings.
Yes, they did.
And you were at them. Tell us what happened.
Well, gosh. Well, they came, the local Hui o Hawaii sponsored them to come in to, to the meeting hall, to have a meeting with all the Kanaka Maoli that were in San Diego, any that would want to show up. And so they were there for 2 nights, I believe, and to answer questions and to do their presentation. And
excuse me, just for the record, the presentation was about the Kaui Noa registration.
Yes, it was.
So ostensibly it's about signing up on a roll to form a Native Hawaiian government. That's the reason, the official reason they give to come to town. We just
Yes.
want to make that clear.
Yes. But, of course, I asked them about that, if that's in fact what they were doing, and they said, oh, no, 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 no. We're just trying to get the process going.
Yes.
So that when the government does come to us and they do want to have a representation of Native Hawaiians that are here, we're going to have all of your names. I, of course, refused to sign that because...
Why?
Well, there is no way that I can believe and trust that OHA has my best interest as a Kanaka Maoli at heart. I believe they have more of their own vested interest in their connection to the Akaka Bill. That it's more about saving their own okoles than it is to be giving us what we really need. Which,
no, tell me that
yeah,
isn't
really,
so.
I know, it's like, big surprise, yeah? And I truly believe, as the, hopefully that online poll with the Honolulu Advertiser that's happening actually right now, is still so heavily weighted against the Akaka Bill passing by Kanaka Maoli, that it's like that really represents, I think, how we really feel about it.
Hanalei, as of this morning, when we checked on the internet, it was like 80% against federal recognition passing and 20% for.
Yeah.
So it's unambiguous. It's
Yes.
like, what part of no don't you understand?
Yeah.
Native Hawaiians and the descendants of the citizens of the
Yes.
sovereign kingdom of Hawaii
Yes.
do not want
That's right.
federal recognition.
That's right.
They want to be free.
That's right. And what the United States is calling federal recognition, what they are calling the governing entity, the Hawaiian governing entity, really is a smokescreen for, I believe, taking away whatever rights that we could have and keeping us in check.
Yep, absolutely. So, at this meeting, this Kaui Noa meeting that OHA held here in San Diego,
Ah, yes.
what did you do? Share with the viewers what happened. What did you do?
Well, let's see. I guess you could say that I was the voice of, well, I was reality checking Clyde Namu'o and Haunani Apoliona. And I really thought there would be more like me, but I mean, this is part of it. There are a number of Kanaka Maoli that either they don't know enough, which is possible, and there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, we all have to do our part to do our own research and to, get information. And all the people that were there were getting information. They were there for information, which was great. The problem was that because they were there and they hadn't done any research on the political ambiguity that OHA was also bringing, it was like lambs being led to the slaughter.
They were getting only one side of the story.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so I thought, okay, well, if there's anything that I can do, it's just to at least be there as a voice of, just play devil's advocate and ask questions and ask a lot of questions. And so I got to do that, and, with Clyde and Haunani, and they didn't like it. They knew, in fact, San Diego was the first stop on the Kaui Noa Trail all the way up the west coast. And so I thought,
you were their baptism by fire.
I wanted them to get that this is all that they have to look forward to.
Yep.
I wanted them to really get that they're not going to be able to pull the wool over everyone's eyes, that as long as there are people, not just me, but people like me that have a similar viewpoint of this, that we're going to be there every step of the way to challenge them and to question them, and to not just question them as a government, as the state agency that they are set up to be.
State bureaucracy.
Yes, but also as Kanaka Maoli. It's like, okay, after the meeting, off camera, let's talk story. Tell me how you make this, how do you justify this?
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen. It's like they spout the same party line that, and I can see that it's still all about saving OHA.
Yeah. So did they have any good answers for your questions?
No, they didn't. They weren't able to convince me that they weren't there just to enroll Kanaka Maoli on their list as a way to be able to say to the government, to the United States government, if the Akaka Bill passed, hey, we, OHA, we have all these signatures of Kanaka Maoli that have signed up. We represent the government governing entity for Native Hawaiians.
Yeah.
And it was just so obvious, and they could not really answer
So you asked them a bunch of questions, and did they have good answers for you?
They had pretty predictable answers.
Uh-huh.
They had the answers that I figured they would, in terms of how, again, it was just really difficult to not see how all of their answers and all of their effort centered around keeping OHA in place.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, OHA is in business to get out of business.
Very well said.
Just like me in my job.
Yes.
My job is to help people so that they don't need me anymore.
Yeah.
And I tell my clients, hey, I'm here with you now, but you know, where this is going is you're going to fire me. You're going to fire me soon because you're not going to need me anymore to give you alternatives and to help you look at your life in a much bigger, broader scope.
Yes.
That to me is what OHA it was set up to do for Native Hawaiians.
Yeah, and in all fairness, OHA would probably say the same thing, and they would say that, you know, well, we're here to go out of business when the Hawaiian nation is created under federal recognition. Mm-hmm. And truth be told, we've been giving OHA a hard time here today on the show.
Yes.
But there's a reason for that, because for an independent Hawaiian nation to come into being,
yeah,
everybody has to work together, including the people at OHA.
That's right.
We have to move towards them, they have to move towards us.
That's right.
There has to be an accommodation.
Well, and there has to be a vision beyond what OHA offers Native Hawaiians.
Yes.
And they do not carry that vision. They're not set up.
Dead end.
It is. It's limited. They are limited in how much they can vision for the future for Native Hawaiians. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's like, you know, when's the patient dead? When do we call this, you know, when do we call an end to this?
Yeah, yeah. Good. So, Hanalei, let's talk about the future. Future of an independent Hawaiian nation.
Yes.
Share with the visitors how you think that might look. What that might that be like?
Well, certainly my own personal preference is more nation of Hawaii as opposed to Hawaiian Kingdom. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm against Hawaiian Kingdom being reestablished or anything against the philosophy or against the charter. It's more about, however, who's going to lead, what form of government is going to lead us into the future.
Okay, so let's talk about once the government is formed, whatever that is, whatever form or shape that takes. Mm-hmm. You've got the independent entity, the nation. Mm-hmm. What might that look like for citizens of that country, and why would they be better off under that than the way they are now?
Well, my personal belief is because we would be functioning as a nation. As a nation, not as one of the 50 states. And because of that...
And not as a tribe on a reservation.
Right, oh boy, that's for sure. Definitely not as a tribe under the Department of the Interior of the United States federal government, which is such a dead end. Mm-hmm. And any Native American Indians that you talk to about that have the same input about how much of a dead end that is.
Let's face it, it's a slow death.
Oh my, it's so sad.
Yeah.
And I think it's what feeds all of the, you know, the alcoholism, all of the pilikia that they have.
The hopelessness.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's really, yeah.
Okay, so back to what it could look like under an independent nation. What might that look like for the citizens? For the everyday person that lives in Hawaii, that is an independent Hawaii.
Yes.
Every day, your average person, what would be the benefits for them? Why would they be better off in an independent Hawaii than what they have now?
Well, right off the bat, I believe that, at least for Kanaka Maoli, we could have more of a voice, or I'll use the word control, over our own destiny as, in terms of our culture. We can create a body that is going to help really preserve the culture that today is not in place.
That is central to the culture.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The
absolutely.
Yeah.
And because, as everyone knows, you know, our culture is slowly dying. The language, thankfully there's a renaissance for the language, and it is starting to come back. But for all the different issues that come up with developments in Hawaii that we are always at odds with the developers and
like the leasehold conversions and all that jazz.
All of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that as a state of the United States, we don't have as much power to determine what to do there as we would as if we were our own nation.
Yes.
So there are so many ways that I think that as a nation we could have more of a say in how to actually preserve the islands, the ecology, the amount of resources that we need to support anyone that lives there, which, again, you know, we import so much. I know that at the time that Captain Cook moseyed by the Sandwich Islands, he didn't discover them, but there were almost 1 million Hawaiians living in those islands, and it was totally self-sufficient. Totally self-sufficient. There was nothing imported.
They had a surplus. As a
Absolutely. Today, even with a similar population, there is so much that we don't have over there anymore, that we can't depend on ourselves. The self-reliance is gone.
Yeah. Okay. So somebody who is not native Hawaiian living in Hawaii right now, watching the show, and they say, well, you know, this sounds great for Hawaiians, but why should I as a non-Hawaiian get behind helping to make Hawaii an independent country again? What would you say to them? What's in it for them?
Well, this is just my perspective, but to me, anyone who is not Kanaka Maoli, that lives in the islands, that appreciates the islands, that appreciates the culture, that appreciates that unique spot on the planet, which is Hawaii, to me, what that means is they appreciate also the essence of what living there means, not just with the Aina, but for its people. And I believe that anyone that is not Hawaiian that lives there needs to have a perspective of that and really appreciate our own plight in terms of being able to retrieve our sense of sovereignty and independence, that it would in fact help with that whole sense of what makes them, what attracts them to the islands in the first place.
In the first place,
So I think it's in their best interests to support this, because, you know, it's, to me, and this is the way that I was always raised, what I believe is that, you know, between the Aina, Kanaka Maoli, and Keakua, there's no difference. You know, in that triangle, we're all the same. So when you feed...
Interconnected.
Yes, and, you know, whatever we offer to God, we offer to the land. Whatever the land gives to us, we offer to God. Whatever God gives... I mean, there's... It's an unbroken triangle that I think is something that everyone has to appreciate if they live in those islands. And so if you appreciate the land, if you appreciate living there, there's no way you can't appreciate everything else that's Hawaiian that is affiliated with those islands. Whether it's about the people, or about our spirituality, our culture, our arts, all of that is so much a part of being in Hawaii.
What do you say to those people that say, you know, this sounds like a great idea on paper, but economically, I just don't, I question whether it can happen?
Well, I think that economically, I think that if we stay a state, it's going to stay the way that it is, if not get worse. I think that our hope for the future lies in being a sovereign nation. I think at that point we can establish trade and commerce on our own, that is in our own best interests, through treaties with other nations, with other sovereign nations that don't limit that, and we are not limited by just, you know, the fact that we are a so-called state of the United States. So personally, I believe that there is so much possible economically becoming a sovereign nation.
Hanalei, what do you think a sovereign Hawaiian nation would have to offer to the world, to the planet?
Oh gosh. Oh, you know, I think that there's, you know, it's like everyone knows this. Whoever goes to Hawaii and experiences it that first time and breathes in that air and chews on that air and and that aloha spirit that lives there, I personally believe that that is the role that we play on the whole planet. That it's what we are here to serve as. I believe Hawaii to be the heart, the beating heart of Mother Earth.
The jewel.
Absolutely. And, you know, there are other beautiful places for sure on the planet, amazing places all over the world. But the beauty of that place externally connected to the internal beauty of the Aloha spirit that its indigenous people possess, and the stewardship that we are assigned to care for that aina, it is unique on the planet. And I believe that is what we offer to the planet as something, as a model to live by, to learn from, and to hold dear, and to really, really hold sacred.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. Hanalei, we have about a minute and a half left. I wanted to ask you, are you hopeful for the future?
Well, here's what I'm hopeful in. I'm telling you, I'm not hopeful in the political process. I have to be honest. I know that it's a crapshoot. But what I am hopeful in is people, and it's particularly Kanaka Maoli when it comes to what is best for Kanaka Maoli. I know that in our hearts we know what we need. We know what's right for us. We know what living a Pono life is about. And having a Pono system that we work together in, I really believe that we know what that is. So, you know, despite what happens politically, I'm a true believer that in our hearts lie all the answers for everything that we need for our future and, you know, for our children and for our children's children. I always try and think of many generations down the road, not just what's going on right now. And I believe that the answers lie in how we consult our own hearts and live that to be true and take a stand for that no matter what anyone else says, no matter whether anyone else agrees or not, doesn't matter. My belief is that as we get in touch with what that is and take a stand for it, you know what? Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, the people are the future, yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah, somebody watching the program here very quickly, somebody watching the program who says, that sounds great to me, but I just don't have the time to get involved in something like this. What would you say?
I would say go to the freehawaii.info site, look for Hawaiian independence websites all over the internet. There's so much information that's possible. Get involved, write to your senators and to your congresspeople.
Great, wonderful. Hanalei, thank you so much for being on the program.
Absolutely.
It's been a privilege to have you.
Absolutely.
And please come back and visit us again soon.
Anytime, Ehu.
Wonderful. This has been Voices of Truth, one-on-one with Hawaii's Future, brought to you by the Kiwani Foundation. I'm Ehu Keikahu Cardwell. And until next time, ahui ho!